So talk to me about like how you guys handle identity resolution in kind of complex or very dynamic environments.
Yeah. So I think that the super important part there is, I think, especially like CDPs in event collection do a great job of, like, if I'm Chris Sell and I'm using my iPhone and I have my device ID, but I have chris@flywheelsoftware.com as my email. And then I'm using my iPad as well with the device ID. And then let's say I'm using my laptop and you want to collect information on where I was using that website. It's all connected to my email address, starting to stitch that together from the website and mobile properties during the event collection process is super important, right? So I've seen certain CDPs specialize in doing that and doing it really well. And when that gets written to the data warehouse, you've already started to stitch together what devices the person's using around a central key, which is great. So the identity resolution provided there is super helpful. But where we're seeing organizations struggle is then they're saying, well, I have this survey data that I just got from Qualtrics. I got the Salesforce data and all my sales calls activities sitting over here that I'm importing through Fivetran. Now, how do I actually start to stitch this together for my Tableau reporting and then eventually for my activation? And so the answer there, like what we started to see pick up a ton, is how do you start to do that holistic identity resolution around those keys? And we're seeing people doing it a couple ways. One is like the extremely simple way. A lot of them are starting to use open source tools to just do it themselves in Python and SQL, and using DBT to start to say, hey, let's just do exact matching on these different keys and see where we can get to, because I need to get a reporting dashboard out tomorrow. Then you're seeing more sophisticated folks using Python and fuzzy matching to try to do, string matching around first name, last name, email address, those sorts of things. And that's why, Snowflake just released Python so that they can actually do that. And so the teams can go a little bit further. But what we're seeing is now companies are starting to pop up, and this is why we're starting to provide a solution in this space, is to, hey, I want to do that holistic identity resolution, but I don't want to do it in SQL with exact match in that environment. So I think that's where, like we were talking about, where CDPs through event collection, I shouldn't call it CDP. I should say web and mobile app event collection and standardization, getting into the data warehouse. Now what the need is that identity resolution across the data warehouse. So when you're adding a new source like Qualtrics survey data, it's like, okay, what's the key and how do I link it into the graph is important.
Yeah, so data after the fact that needs to get appended or enriched.
That's right.
That's where you come effectively over the top and say, there's these other data sources that have come in that are probably non-standard, that may not necessarily belong in the CDP. These data sources are still valuable. Let's get this data mapped, merged, and then activated.
That's exactly right. Yeah, that's spot on.